Good afternoon, YouTube. How are you guys doing? Today is going to be a short video, and it's my breakdown of the psychology of victim blamers. It's a very, very deep phenomenon as far as society goes, but it is not a new one. I'll tell you I came up with 3 steps, and arguably C could be broken down into yet another component and make 4, but I just kept it simple. So quite naturally, point A would be the actual action of blaming the victim. Now, between A and B, there will be a long process of victim blaming, at which time people that are not boots on the soil will run out of content. At such time that as they run out of content, what happens is point B. Content creator runs out of content and they begin stealing others' content. So we've got the actual action of blaming the victim, then we have the running out of content. Now we're to C, which arguably, like I said before, could be broken into yet another component and essentially derive 2 more points, but we'll just stick with C as 1. So after stealing, content creators then will get copyright strikes put on their channels by the people that they stole the content from. At which time they thrust themselves from a victim blamer to a victim. Oh, woe is me. They're striking my page for stealing content. In the real world, let's snap back to the real world. In the real world, when you steal, there's a consequence. In the YouTube world, when you steal, there's a consequence. Effectively, this is C, all as one thought. After getting copyright, victim blamers immediately thrust themselves into becoming the victims, allowing themselves to think that they've given themselves the false ability to lash out at those that copyright strike them. So the whole ideology in itself, you can't compete with. You can't battle with it. I've figured out the not so easy way, and I found the easy way. So now I feel blessed that there's 2 modes of travel. There's 2 lanes of travel when it comes to this situation. I do appreciate any channel that victim blames and then thrusts themselves into the victim spot or spotlight as soon as they get caught stealing. What you have there is you have an emotional deflection, an attempt to deflect the shame of being caught stealing in the YouTube world. Because it stands to reason if you will steal videos from an interactive cyber community, that you would steal people's real possessions in real life. And I think that we see that trend with many YouTubers, none specific. So yes, again, victim blaming is a very, it's a very, you could label it as insanity. You could. It's expecting a different outcome, only putting in the initial push. You can't expect something new doing nothing different. I implore people to look back at your active victim blamers and see the trend. You will see the trend. You will see advocacy, or let me rephrase that. Advocacy is victim blaming, right? So you see victim blaming, and then all of a sudden you see a victim blaming content creator miraculously shed its skin into a victim now. It is internet wide, and here I am breaking down the psychology of it. I could go more into depth, but I think that this base this touch of it is a base idea, and it far explains the reach of victim blaming in itself. It is a tumultuous existence to try to upkeep, because you're always looking for a victim, and when the content runs out and they get caught stealing content, then they become the victim. So it is an insane, mundane, repetitious cycle that will never stop. And this leads into what I said a couple of weeks ago. When a victim blamer becomes the victim, when they can chameleon that way, what you have is a human being that had a tragedy in their life and they were not advocated for. No one stood in the gap for these people and said, hey, Sally, John, whoever you are, we're here for you, right? Now, because these folks don't get this sort of advocacy during their time of tragedy, quite naturally, they hate advocacy. It's a form of racism, bias. You see a protected group of people, like advocates, advocating for another protected group of people, which is the victim of a murder in this case, and you see the blamers turn into the victim. It is quite the dichotomy. It's fierce in its existence. When you see a victim blamer victim, that's what we'll call them, a VBV. When you see a VBV in real life, their content and their life online seems to be driven and gluttonized by the drama. And essentially, when you look, this is what I would also implore people to do. When you see a VBV victimizing someone else through their own victimization, what you see there is a situation that spins so viciously out of control that the only thing that you can do to save your face and the face of that content creator that is clearly going through some sort of psychological break for the moment is stay out of the way. Let them talk all they want, and ultimately on YouTube, what you have as a creator who's being victimized. I refuse to be a victim. I'm not going to be victimized. I'm not a victim. I've been advocated for anytime I've been victimized. And I've also, I've been exposed to the advocacy when I've victimized other people. So, I see the full spectrum. And it's not a really hard science to pick apart. It's very remedial and shallow in its very existence. It's not a very deep personality trait to have. It's a very shallow personality trait with a grandeur, with a grandiose finality that if I throw this victim shield around myself, they'll stop looking at my shame. I'm sorry. Everyone has a drawer of shame in their house. I have a drawer of shame in my temple, but it's not anything that's been exposed online. For all the potential future victims, take this science in, soak it up, sponge it up, and really compartmentalize it with the rest of your tools, because we're all going to have tragedies in life, and this is essentially a breakdown of the very serpent that you'll face. I thank you all for giving me a platform this afternoon. I hope God blesses all of you in the rest of this week and into the upcoming weekend. So with that being said, remember guys, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Any comments, questions, or concerns, please put them in the box below. If you haven't already subscribed, please think about it. We have 2 tiers to our membership now. We have the Elite and we have the Gumshoe. So if you're not already a member, please think about joining the membership program, as we will have member-only content coming up this week, Friday-ish, Saturday-ish. So thank you guys. God bless.